we go. So welcome to our competitive napping. Like I said, this is a restorative yoga style. So we're going to have a very supported prop situation. And with restorative yoga, we're going to hold for longer lengths of time. In particular, I'm actually going to push our boundaries in this specific class. So oftentimes, especially given kind of our wildly changing environments, the kind of where we are in this moment, I have tended to stick more towards like 3 to 6 minutes for our standard postures throughout the class, and then a longer shavasana at the end. Today, I'm actually going to push us a little deeper into that. I think there's a really beautiful call for spaciousness in this moment, the great pause, if you will. So we're going to play with that today. We're going to begin with some movement to help release tension. And then we're going to have a really lovely, long and delicious posture to kind of really bring us in. And then we'll move through some things and get some longer postures at the end as well. So for some people who may have a meditation practice or simply have a mindfulness practice or a deep relationship with self, spending time in those longer postures is far more comfortable for some people than others. And the invitation is to just simply meet yourself where you are. You don't have to have anything perfect. You don't have to have complete non-distraction in your environment. I'm sure many of you will sort of chuckle at that. Even I hear all the sounds that are immensely created that I didn't even know were there as I'm trying to teach this class. So it's an invitation in those moments to simply be where we are. And we can use the tools. I'll give you lots of landing points for your mind. There's lots of places and focus points that we can have throughout this practice. But from an activity and physical movement perspective, we're really going to move into very few postures in comparison to a more active vinyasa asana class. And the invitation is that is to allow us to really relax and to go deep. Sometimes even when we're sleeping, we're not really resting. And so there's a really beautiful invitation to come deeper in our bodies, to really release the tension that we hold breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, and let ourselves receive and integrate. So it's active relaxation. I love that sort of paradox. And so let's go ahead and dive in. So we're gonna begin in seated on our mats. And you will need a few props for this. So for those of you that came in a little bit later, I'm going to drop some music in the chat if you like. And you will need several props for today. So you'll want a couple of blankets. And if you have, oh, my block's over here. Sorry. A couple of blocks or some books. And then finally, we are going to play with the bolster a little bit today too. So you may want either, if you have a bolster, beautiful. And if not, a couple of pillows or a pillow and a folded blanket can add that structure. So feel free to get yourself settled with what you need. And then we can dive in. And then finally today, we're also going to do a little legs up the wall and kind of play and riff on that. So it won't be just only the standard straight legs. We're going to play with that a little bit. And so we're going to begin in seated, but I'm going to invite you to bring a blanket kind of in this long rectangle fold in the middle of your mat. And simply bring yourself to seated on that. Taking the opportunity to move the flesh out from underneath the sits bones, getting really grounded on your mat, growing tall through your spine, bringing your palms to your knees. And take 3 deep, full breaths here. Feeling free to close your eyes or soften your gaze. With each inhalation, inviting the breath really deep and full into the body. With each exhalation, just allowing yourself to release and be. And with that final 3rd breath, we're going to invite some movement. So on the inhalation, you're going to bring your heart and chest forward, really bringing the spine forward. And then as you exhale, you're gonna press and round through the shoulders. So this is a version of cat-cow as we're seated. So inhale, bringing that belly forward, shoulder blades back. Exhale, pressing and rounding, tucking the tailbone. 2 more rounds of breath here. Following your flow. And then coming back to that neutral spine, we're gonna play with that movement a little bit more. And as you inhale, you're gonna bring your heart and chest forward as you bring your torso around to the right, open forward, round to the left, then begin to arch the back as you come to the back, as you exhale. So coming into these little rolls as you follow the flow of your breath, the movement of your spine. Really focus on inhaling through the front round of the circle and exhaling as you come to the back round. And as you come to the top of the next roll, switch directions. Two more rounds here. And releasing that movement, maybe doing a couple shoulder rolls. Just releasing any tension, switching in the other direction. Beautiful. So inhale, grow tall through the spine. Inhale, extend the arms up overhead. As you exhale, twisting to the right. Left palm finds right knee, right hand plants behind the spine. Really getting into the depth of your twist. Exhale, releasing back to center. Inhale, extending the arms overhead. Exhale, twisting to the left. Noticing if those shoulders have a tendency to come towards the ears and softening them down. Exhale, coming back through center. Inhale, extend the arms overhead. Exhale, twisting to the right again. Finding your depth with the twist first, then extending the right fingers up overhead. Begin to bend forward over the left knee, coming into a little lateral bend. Softening through that left shoulder. Reaching with the right fingertips. Exhale as the right hand flows to the left knee, arching through that back again. Inhale, grow through the spine. Exhale, fold forward. 1 round of breath here. Inhale, coming back to seated. Inhale, extending the arms overhead. Exhale, twisting to the left. Finding your depth first, then extending the left fingertips up overhead, bending over that right knee. Checking in with that right shoulder. Feeling that arc from the root of the left hip through to the left fingertips. As you exhale, left hand sweeps down to the right knee, rounding through the shoulders. Inhale, growing tall through the spine. Exhale, folding forward. 1 round of breath here. Inhale, coming back to seated. And now we're going to begin with our first supported posture. So if you have your blocks or your books, you're going to want to set them on either side of your mat. We've already got your blanket here. And so you're going to want to bring your hips really towards the back of that. But before we do that, we're going to want to set up a bolster behind you to really help support your upper body. So if you have your bolster, you're going to want to go long ways to the back of your mat. If you don't, a really solid pillow, and if your pillows are kind of thin, you can double up here. Might double up, see how we do. You can also add a folded blanket on top to add a little more structure. So with this, we're going to come into a supported bound angle. We, in some cases, will go more towards a really reclined position, and sometimes we'll really go towards a more supported position. No right or wrong, it's kind of totally your choice. So work with the props that you have and don't worry about the rest. Bringing your blocks to either side. Then bring the soles of the feet to connect, letting the knees go wide to either side. Taking a moment to really grow tall through the spine, to gently round the back, bringing the hands around the feet, bringing the thumbs to the arches and just giving them a little massage. One more round of breath here. Beautiful. Then begin to plant your hands on either side under your shoulders and gently lower yourself back to your prop setup. If you notice you need some more support for your neck, maybe that rolled blanket or folded blanket shifts to support for your head. Finding your way in. And then notice the distance between your outer knees and the floor. And if there's quite a bit of spaciousness there, that's what your blocks are for. You're going to help bring the floor to them. Sliding the shoulder blades down the back, really opening through the heart, softening through the belly. And begin to sweep from the crown of your head through to the tip of your toes. And notice if there's any areas of holding, any tension or constriction. And as you invite the breath into those spaces, there's just the invitation for softening. No way is correct. There's no perfect here. But rather we can simply meet ourselves where we are. Letting the attention and awareness rest on the sensations and the pathways of the breath. The rising and the falling. The expansion and the release. Letting each inhalation explore the breadth of your fullness. Inviting the breath in through the nose, down through the throat, into the chest and the lungs, deep down into the belly, into the diaphragm, into the low belly, the pelvic bowl. Filling up. And as you exhale, just noticing that gentle release of the breath. No need to fight or force. No need to control. Just noticing how your body returns to its resting point. And then noticing the breath fill again. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath flow out. In each breath, we have the opportunity to become aware of our intention and purpose, the way in which we have shown up to be and to breathe right where we are. From moment to moment, we have the opportunity to connect in to the root of it all. In yoga, we come to understand bijas as these seeds that are planted, as the starting point of everything. And breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, those seeds are present. And from seed, they begin to sprout, or perhaps they're washed away, or perhaps they're replaced by a different crop. So we can plant our seeds and surrender into the experience of growth that happens. We don't have to control. We don't have to predict or strategize. We can become present caretakers to nurture our seeds the best way we can. And to let things be as they are, to understand where we have influence and to understand where there's an invitation to surrender. As you feel the breath within you, that pulse of vitality, that rhythm of your heartbeat right here in your chest. Begin to notice and become aware of those seeds that you have planted and those seeds that you are choosing to nurture right here, right now. As you feel that breath, that infilling and that opening within you, Trust and know that the breath is also nurturing those seeds. That it's enough to be right where we are, just as we are. Letting yourself feel and experience 3 more really deep, full breaths here. Beginning to wiggle the fingers and toes. Bring your hands to the outer edges of your knees and invite your knees to come back to center. And then allow your knees to sway from side to side, just doing a little windshield wiper with your legs. Letting your pelvis find movement again. Inhale fully here. As you exhale, sigh out the mouth. And then gently beginning to lift your torso up off your prop setup. You can set aside your blocks for the time being. You don't need them again unless you like them for your Shavasana. And you're going to come around to a tabletop position here. Feeling free to check in with your props. We're actually going to keep the bolster situation here. If you had a really tall bolster, you might want to actually, so I had a couple of stacks here. I'm going to shift that to a lower bolster, more like a traditional bolster would be. And use this for our next one. And so if you're ready, you're going to bring your hips to face the left edge of your mat. You're going to extend the left leg out in front of you. Let the right leg come long. And then you're going to twist so that your torso faces your bolster, planting your palms on either side and gently lowering your torso down to your prop setup. And begin to connect to the wave of your breath. Really feeling into the flow of breath and noticing the lungs pressing into the bolster. Noticing how your body shifts and flows. Noticing your contact points with the earth. And letting yourself be held here. Noticing where you have a tendency to hold and inviting yourself to let go. Feeling through 3 more rounds of breath here. Letting each inhalation be deep and each exhalation be long. As you finish your final breath, beginning to press through your arms, raising your torso up off of your props. Gently switching your legs around to the other side. I'm gonna switch my props just so I continue to face you. You can feel free to just switch around to the other side. Bring your right hip just underneath that bolster. Extend the right leg out, let the left leg be long, and bring your arms to frame your bolster. And then gently lower your torso down to your mat. Feeling free to make any adjustments you need. Remembering that everything you need is within you now or within your reach. And so with this breath, you can come to know that interconnection. How all those seeds connect with you and with each other and with your community and your family. Remembering that interdependence, that oneness. If at any point you find that your mind has run away with thoughts, simply give yourself permission to release them in the moment of awareness. No need to judge or criticize. Perhaps even just smile and remember, oh yeah, I forgot. And then allowing yourself to reconnect to that sensation of breath, to the textures and contours within you, that fertile soil of your brilliance. One more deep, full inhale here. As you exhale, beginning to gently lift through your torso. Perhaps coming to seated and bringing those feet back together. And just gently folding over the legs, just feeling that stretch at the back of the low back. And then we're going to set up for some legs up the wall. So if you have a wall handy, this would be a beautiful time to kind of go set yourself up. If you don't, you can either use the back of a chair or some furniture to kind of help imitate that. And you'll want your, for the first part, you'll want your strap if you have it, or a towel if you don't have a strap. And looks like someone came unmuted here. Perfect. So you'll want two things. You'll want to bring your bolster and or a pillow and or a couple folded blankets over to the wall. And so for me, I'm going to do a folded blanket first, and then a pillow on top of that. And you'll also want your strap handy. And before you get down really into it, I'm going to invite you to create a loop with your strap. And so if you have a strap, what you'll do, if you have a kind of a traditional yoga strap, you'll bring the fabric end through the buckles, and then you'll turn it around and go over the first buckle, under the second buckle, to create that firm loop. You're going to want a fairly large loop. We're going to stick our legs in it here in a minute. Then you're going to bring your hips to either side of your props so that you're facing the side. And then you're going to gently bring your legs up the wall and onto your props. And that might take a little adjusting here. Feeling free to notice, is this too much or is this okay? And then with that big loop, you're going to loop your legs, both of them together, and bring that strap just to the tops, just above the knees. And kind of have this sort of fleshy area just above the kneecaps. And you want to adjust it fairly tight. And the other thing you want to be mindful of is that the strap buckle is in between your legs, so it's not catching skin. And then allow yourself, your arms can come down by your side, or you can bring your hands to your belly if you'd like to connect deeper to the pathways of your breath. And with the strap there, you should be able to really release that sense of holding of your legs. And if this is horrendously uncomfortable for you, feel free to adjust, remove the loop, and you can kind of bend, or you can keep it if depending on how you want to do it. You can bring some bend into the knees instead. So if the full legs up the wall is not serving you, please feel free to change. And as you're ready, we're going to begin to dive in. So inviting the breath in, allowing the breath to release. Feeling yourself supported even in this strange posture. And perhaps here you can really feel the fullness of your belly, that space of your gut, that connection to your solar plexus chakra, the Manipura. There is so much that is rooted in our gut when it comes to our health, when it comes to our sense of intuition, our inner knowing, our deeper, wider center of being. So much happens in the gut, in the pelvic bowl, in the low belly. These roots of our wisdom. these roots of our fullness. So for the next few minutes, just let yourself be connected in that space, right where you are. Letting yourself rest in this breath, in this heartbeat. Feeling through 3 more rounds of breath here. Bring the soles of the feet to the wall. Gently bend through the knees. Rocking the knees from side to side, just kind of opening through the pelvis, through the legs. Flexing through the feet. And then coming to your loop, you're gonna unhook your loop. Just really extend it so you can slide it off the legs. And then bring the soles of your feet back to the wall. Basically doing kind of a 90-degree angle here. And then bringing the left ankle on top of the right knee. We're gonna come into a reclined pigeon on the wall. And so being here, you can actually bring the foot up wider, up taller if you need. And then as you're ready, you can slide that right foot down the wall into the depth of your pigeon. Breathing here. Taking one more deep, full round of breath here. Inhale, filling up. Exhale, side out the mouth. Gently rocking the knees from side to side, even keeping that pigeon position, that figure 4. Slide that right foot back up the wall, uncross the legs. Let the left leg go long. Let the right ankle cross over the left knee. And then gently slide that left foot down the wall, coming into the depth on this side. Taking one more deep breath, inhaling fully and completely. Exhale, sighing it out the mouth. Gently rocking the knees from side to side. Extending that left foot back up, uncrossing, extending the right foot. Maybe flexing through the ankles a couple of times. Then inviting the knees to come into the chest and rolling over to a side of your choice. Pausing there for one big long breath. And then as you exhale, beginning to raise up through your torso. We're going to begin to set up for our final resting posture. There are lots of options for supportive rest. I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations. So first things first, if your hips and low back tend to be on the sensitive side of things, I do recommend having a blanket to support them in the middle of your mat. So kind of coming back to a similar stance to where we began. And then most folks like to have a little support under the knees, so you can have a little release with the low back again, just adding that extra support. So you can do that a few different ways. If you have another blanket, you can begin to fold it from crease to the folded ends and tent that underneath your knees.
Okay, cool.
Alternatively, oops, there we go. Alternatively, you can use a pillow or your bolster under your legs as well. And finally, you may like some support under the tops of your shoulders and your head. You can bring a folded blanket to the top of your mat for that as well. So lots of options here. Feel free to set yourself up with what you need. And then as you're ready, beginning to lower yourself down to the ground, feeling free to take any adjustments or any final postures that you need. This is your practice. And then as you're ready, giving yourself permission to really fully surrender into this space of rest. In this final posture, this supported rest, we release from the conscious efforting of the breath and the body. Really give ourselves permission to have some space to integrate, to breathe, to be that fertile ground for those seeds and intentions that we plant. In fact, this becomes that beautiful phase where we actually witness, where we let ourselves surrender and let that flow, that impulse of life express. Once again, I invite you to connect to the wave of your breath, the rhythm and the presence of your heartbeat. With so much ease and gentleness, just beginning to wiggle the fingers and toes, breathing in fully through the nose. And as you exhale, sighing out the mouth. Inhaling once again. As you exhale, inviting the arms to come up overhead, feeling the length and the breadth from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers. With your next exhalation, inviting the knees to come into the chest. Begin to rock from side to side, just feeling that sacrum rooted to the earth. That bija at the base of your spine, filled with the nourishment of your breath and movement. And then as you exhale, coming over to a side of your choice. Pausing there, breathing. In this posture of rebirth, we are reminded that we begin again in every breath. With choice, with sovereignty, with wholeness. Let your next exhale bring you to seated in whatever way serves you. Bringing your palms to connect in front of your hearts. Left palm in union with right palm. Thumbs pressing into the sternum, sternum pressing into the thumbs. Slight tuck of the chin as you bow towards your heart. And imagine, bring that awareness and focus to the center of your heart. Imagine a spark of light there. This sacred space of who you are. And remember that bija, that seed of light, is present and illuminating every heartbeat. Namaste in its simplest form means the light in me honors and acknowledges the light in you. Bringing thumbs to third eye center between the eyebrows and the forehead, bowing forward to seal your practice. Namaste.